Morning, everyone. How's everyone keeping? Firstly, guys, I'd just like to thank you all for coming today, particularly those of you in the press corps. My name is Jack Ryan, and I am the new CEO of MyClub360. Today, we want to officially launch the MyClub360 platform. I'm just going to give you a bit of a brief outline in terms of the benefits and tools that it can be used as to help an organisation in the day-to-day running, be it an admin, a player, a coach, a parent, or a local business, and how we're going to knit that all together. I should probably start by explaining why I'm standing here with you today on what I feel is probably going to be one of the most consequential, game-changing days in community sports in Ireland and abroad. Ooh, big statement, but I'm going to back it up over the next few minutes. I'm going to give you a bit of info on my own personal journey in sports. So my dad here, Greg, looks exactly like me in the back of the room. He set up a local community football team called Beechwood FC in 1996. I played in the first match, I remember very well. I think we played 14 players against Rathcoole Boys, 7 players, and we lost 7-0, which was a pretty disheartening occasion, but we rallied and I caught the love for the game that day. So sort of being involved in a football club from such an early stage, I'm well versed in the sort of trials and tribulations of the day-to-day organisation. It might have been my dad on a Friday evening, picking up the phone book, ringing every single person in Ranelagh and abroad, asking if their son, daughter, cousin, nephew, niece would just tog out for us the next day. Or it might be my mum ferrying every single one of them into her 7-seater Chrysler Voyager and driving us over to the match. I've sort of been through every little experience you can have. My own sort of interest in sports would have sort of developed and progressed as I went to Gonzaga College in secondary school alongside half the room here. I ended up playing Gaelic football, hurling, rugby, soccer, all to varying levels of ability, as the lads in the corner will testify to. I sort of had a lifelong dream. One of my lifelong ambitions was to play under the lights in Anfield in the Champions League for Liverpool, and as I slowly realised that wasn't going to materialise, I decided to turn my attention to its coaching and management. So I think age 16, I was appointed first team manager by the chairman of the club, Greg Ryan. My dad, a bit of nepotism there, but look, we won't complain. I was appointed first team manager of the Beechwood FC under 6s. So that was my first dip into the coaching ladder, and I loved it now. I was primarily tying shoelaces, but it gave me my first introduction to coaching. So I started my first coaching badges when I was 17, and I worked my way up the ladder there. My first appointment in senior football was aged 18 in the Leinster Senior League, and those of you who've played in the Leinster Senior League will know that it can be a very unforgiving environment. There's a lot of colourful language used, a lot of colourful characters used, but again, it was something that gave me a real insight into the game and fueled my passion for it. I finished all my coach licenses with the FAI Coach Education and successfully was then applied for a job with the New York Red Bulls in Major League Soccer. Obviously, moving over to New York, that coaching experience that I obtained with the New York Red Bulls was invaluable. So sort of being exposed to like top level athletes and players, I think accelerated my own development as a coach, but also as a person. We had many different players involved in the Premier League, like Jesse Marsh was the Leeds manager, Ralph Ragnick, a couple of other different people. So it was a great experience kind of working with players of that calibre and coaches of that calibre. And if anything, that sort of increased my interest in the game and then also in how clubs are run on a day-to-day basis at an elite level. Sip of water. So I had many successful years at Red Bull. So 5 years at Red Bull, many successful years at Red Bull. And I kind of drew inspiration. The then first team manager was Jesse Marsh. And I sincerely hope my tenure, I know Alex Gleeson over there is a Leeds United fan. I know my tenure, and I hope my tenure at MyClub360 will be longer and more successful than Jesse's was managing Leeds United in the Premier League. After 5 unbelievable years in Red Bulls with the best facilities in the world, everything you could imagine as a coach under one roof, unbelievable training facilities, I made the decision, a difficult decision, to come back to Dublin. And I thought, what better way to sort of reintroduce myself to the unique environment in Irish coaching than to take a session with the Cherry Orchard under 15s, who are an eclectic bunch and a very sharp-witted bunch, in the lawns in Ballyfermot with one of my mentors, Dave Collins, who's also here today, taking that session. And I think over my time in Red Bulls in 5 years, I picked up a few quirky words, like I used the word bib, I referred to as a pinny. The pitch was called the field, and a match I called the scrimmage. So I was really I had adopted this unique American slang, and I rocked up to the lawns in Ballyfermot on a cold Tuesday night, and I asked our centre midfielder, who was an unbelievably gifted player, but he had an unbelievably gifted tongue. His name was Shawnee. And I said, Shawnee, grab a bib there, grab a penny and run on the field and we'll have a scrimmage at the end of the day. And Shawnee turned around to me and said, we're not in Brooklyn anymore, boy. So I think that was a really good way to sort of phase my way back into the unique ecosystem that is Irish sport and Irish football in general. So obviously from my experience with Beechwood at the grassroots all the way up to the elite level with Red Bulls, I'm very, very aware that this sort of existence of a sports club and a community club in particular, it doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of blood, sweat and tears put in by volunteers, and a lot of you guys here today have all volunteered in one way or another with the club, and that often goes unappreciated. I know after my dad made those calls on a Friday night, he'd often be swearing to himself, you swear this is my full-time job. So it often goes unappreciated, and it's something that takes a lot of effort, and it's really unrecognised as it happens. So if there's anything I've learned from both experience at the grassroots and elite level, is that there are major problems that the clubs face on a day-to-day basis, and they're age-old problems. And the reason I'm so excited to be here and why I gave it the big bravado at the start is we finally found a solution to these problems, and that's MyClub360. A couple of the problems can include inadequate or absolutely no training at all for volunteers who take up positions of significant importance within clubs and communities, and they have a high level of responsibility and duty to players and children alike to fulfill those roles. They take up large amounts of time and they're not resourced enough at the moment as well. And so there's people being handed positions in clubs as coach, administrator, anything that have no training, they're just landed with the job and it's best of luck, off you go. So that's been unresolved for as long as we've been involved, and I know people have really keen interest in helping our clubs. They want to step up and they want to help, but they need to be able to channel it in the right way in the terms of education and how to fulfill their day-to-day roles. In terms of funding, there's always been an unsustainable funding cycle in which there's constant cycles of donations, lotto tickets, fundraisers, just to maintain the financial sustainability of the organisation. And again, these have over time proved not to be recession-proof. Like they're constantly, I think Dave Collins, I mentioned, my mentor, he's doing a spot the ball tournament at the moment where you have to scratch out using a €2 coin and you go around taking 25 quid off port, but he's lost all his spot the ball cards already. So it's just not going to work long term, and it's why clubs are constantly on their knees, and unfortunately we've seen a lot of clubs folding of late, especially after COVID. First of all, to be clear on my club, it's subscription management, it's education, it's CRM for outbound marketing campaigns, and its coaching software is all completely free. So this platform will allow organisations to easily keep track of their members' information, allowing sports organisations to focus on what is really matters to the club and the community, and that's delivering an exceptional experience to its members. So allow me to reiterate, everything we do is free. Our club subscription software is free, and we will not be taking a percentage of any of the fees paid by parents to the club or any of the club fundraising. All is funneled directly back into the club, as it should be. The MyClub360 solution includes member management and payment, subscription plans, a community dashboard to engage with other club members, a compliance and safeguarding courses, a virtual learning environment, which we've seen there with Sanjeev, to support coaching badges and other forms of training, document management service to support safeguarding and audit requirements, and then ongoing member and staff education, which can be delivered on a consistent basis in a clear manner. My club has an integrated suite of software solutions for sports clubs and organisations to manage members, educate volunteers, and communicate with all members, all within one ecosystem. I'm pleased to confirm that our first round of funding is now complete. As you have seen in the video initially, we have some exciting investors lined up, including Jordan Larmer, Irish International. We have Tipperary All-Star and All-Ireland winner Niall McGrath, and we have Kilkenny All-Ireland All-Star and winner Walter Walsh, amongst many others. We will be opening up the second round to raise additional funds due to extreme demand in the US and the UK, amongst a pipeline of very enthusiastic investors. We have a catalogue of emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence and gaming technologies that will transform coaching for our members, whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior like myself. So here's the deal. It sounds like, what's the catch? Everything is free. We're giving all this software, all this platforms, everything to clubs. Our advertising technology will be used by local businesses that are already engaged in advertising to rechannel existing money that they are currently spending on social news feeds, social media advertising, directly into our community dashboard. Okay? This audience is a pure data model, and it brings 10 times the value to the local businesses as they are communicating directly with their target market. In other words, if data is the new gold, then the business community has access for the first time ever to pure gold, which is MyClub360. Once again, thank you very much for joining us both physically and virtually. And we look forward to creating sort of sustainability in our sporting, in our business communities for many, many years to come.